Hilary Calvert, former ACT MP, former city councillor, former regional councillor, lawyer, businesswoman, joins us to give us a bit of a preview and a review of the week that's been, of the week that will be. And she joins us now. Hilary, welcome to the show. Those migration stats, they are slightly horrific, don't you think?
Yes, I think I'm interested to know who this huge number of people who've come in the last year, who they are. When I say who, I don't mean personally. I mean,
do you mean the country they come from, or do you mean the...
No, I mean, we were desperate for doctors, lawyers, people who could do stuff.
Yeah.
Because we were short of people who could do stuff, because they're all retiring and called Alistair and David and Peter and things. So I'm wanting to know who this huge increase in people we've got are. Is it mostly doctors and nurses? I don't think so. Is it mostly Indian people who've paid some scurrilous people back in India to come to New Zealand and be scaffolders and lose their job? Who are these people in general?
No, it's a fair question you've asked. So you were saying, what are the skill, what are the educational qualification, what are the skills components of these 250,000 that we've let into the country?
Yes, and also I'd be interested to know how the refugee thing works too, because we've got, there was a refugee family in Dunedin recently, I don't know whether they're on national news, but they were complaining about accommodation they were being given. It was to them. And they had what was described as a large family. They'd been here since 2018, and they were wanting the government to give them accommodation, and the government had responded by saying, you also need to look at the private rentals. You know, if there's one of those, you should try one of those. And they've said no, because we'll never get onto the public waiting list if we do that. And anyway, they might be crap houses, and we don't want to live in them. And the guy who was talking from the family had his phone on Google Translate or something, and he was showing people the English words for what he was saying. And I'm thinking, do we think that English is important for people who come to New Zealand? Do we, they get looked after for a year or something, refugees often, an agency's paid to take them in for a year and sort of look after them and things. Do we owe them houses beyond, especially if they have large families, and they've been having them since they first were homeless and stateless and whatever they were when they came. Do we owe them a duty of care above our New Zealand citizens, a house before them? Are we taking in refugees that we have no proper way of looking after? Because if we're not going to look after them, we shouldn't be taking them in. And if we are going to look after them, we should look at our own people and say, well, are we looking after them first?
I don't think we should take any refugees. I mean, I'm an anti-refugee person, always have been. Because you're playing a sort of a roulette game if you take in refugees. To me, we joined the United Nations High Commission on Refugees, as you know. I think we take a specified number every year. I can't remember if it's 900 or 1,500.
Yeah,
it's around that area. But, and this is where it all breaks down, Hilary. Once we take them, and they are granted New Zealand permanent residence and citizenship, you know what happens next, don't you? They're entitled to bring their family out. So I well remember the statistics. Winston Peters let them go about, this is prior to getting elected in the Labour government. This is about 10 years ago. Under parliamentary questions, asked the obvious question, and for every refugee we bring into this country, they bring 9 of their family members later once they become New Zealand citizens. Now that's a stunning stat, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we need to know more about how the whole thing works. That's one of them. And creating...
Well, that's the other thing about migrants as well. Once those migrants come in, Hilary, how many of those are family reunification cases? So of that 250,000, We're not, I guess, just talking about professional skilled people going into jobs. We're also talking about, hello, Joe India from Uttar Pradesh has just come into the country. Now he's bringing over mum and dad. His mum and dad are here. Now he can bring the rest of the family.
But what seems to be is that we're not bringing in people who have any chance of fitting in to the way we do things, which goes back
Correct.
to your comment earlier about
that's right. Yeah.
Australia need you to say what it is to be an Australian.
Yeah.
If you can't speak English and you've been here since 2018 and you're what would be the breadwinner because you're the male hierarchical person in the family, how are you ever going to work, earn your money, do whatever? And if you've come from a refugee camp where you've been for the last 10 plus years, probably, because that's sort of how the international system often delivers them to you. What's the point of this? This is not going to, these people are never going to be anything but sitting there waiting for a food parcel of one description or another, unless we say, if you come here, our role is to make sure that for the next, over the next 2 years you become somebody who's competent to live in New Zealand, have some of the values that we have, just some of that stuff.
But just the sheer scale of numbers would suggest we've got a problem, wouldn't it? I mean, I extrapolated last year and the year beforehand, but to have in 10 years' time 2.5 million more New Zealanders living in this country, who primarily come from countries such as China, the Philippines, India, and Fijian Indians, and South Africa, just quietly. I mean, is that the country we want?
We can do things about that, but the other thing that...
Well, what are we doing at the moment? Nothing.
Well, we're not. And why I'm talking about the Indian guys, why are we letting people do this immigration process that says they've got a job and they haven't got a job, and somebody says that I paid them $50,000 to all that stuff? Why are we letting
I'm sorry, how many more Indian-owned liquor stores do we need in this country? Just quietly as well.
Or vaping
run
stores,
by
actually.
rapacious Indians, starved within... even when I went into Dunedin, which is hardly where you'd expect to be an Indian citadel, there's the super liquor store in the main street of your city, run by Indians. There's 3 or 4 Indians in there, running a cut-price liquor store. In George Street in Dunedin. And I'm going, so let me get this right. A New Zealander couldn't have done that job. Oh, bollocks.
Yes, so I don't have an issue about so much. I have an issue about where they come from if their beliefs are different from ours.
Oh, no, I have a real problem with Indians flooding this country, as they are at the moment. 45,000 last year.
Anyone should be flooding this country. And what is, if anything, as concerning is the number of New Zealanders who want to leave. So the people who want to come here come for one reason, and the people who want to leave are leaving for another.
Well, no, they're leaving for the same reason, aren't they? The Indians who are coming here and the Filipinos and Chinese who are coming to New Zealand, they're coming to New Zealand for the same reason that the white New Zealanders and the brown New Zealanders are leaving, aren't they? And that's because the country that they're going to offers them more opportunities and a better standard of living than the one they've come from.
Yes. So the same reason, but why is New Zealand not attractive enough for the people who already live here? Really, that's who we want to. A while ago they said there was 1 million of us overseas, and clearly we've got a population who likes to move around and immigration things, but we don't want, for the most part, our people to just go overseas because of a better life. We want them to go overseas because of a wanderlust and...
Well, that has been the Kiwi way. But the difference now is that your children and my children, Hilary, when they go overseas now, so my 17-year-old daughter comes back from... Well, she's in Paris at the moment, but she'll come back on Friday from overseas, having done a little ticky tour around. When she finishes university...
Back this time, Michael.
Exactly.
She might not come back next time.
That's exactly right. You're 100%. That's exactly right.